The British Foreign Secretary, Mr. David Miliband, introduced the report, which he said had been delayed to take in the deteriorating situation in the region. In his introduction, the Prime Minister emphasises that by mapping out an economic stake for Palestinians, the report supports the forces of peace. The Foreign Secretary took the problems back to UN Resolution 242.
Over the last 40 years, I think that we've seen fear amongst Israelis and hardship amongst Palestinians grow in tandem. If you like, they're two sides of the same coin, and it's certainly very much our belief that the fear amongst Israelis will only be tackled when we address the hardship amongst Palestinians and vice versa. That's why the three foundations of the British government's approach to the important questions that confront the Middle East today are, first, to be unceasing in our support for a two-state solution, which we believe is the right vision for the future. Secondly, to support all those in the region who are committed to peaceful processes. And thirdly, to argue that economic, social, and humanitarian and political concerns need to be addressed together, and hence this report today.
The joint author spoke of an economy at present propped up by international aid and huge employment in the public sector, and with the Palestinian population set to equal that of Israel in 50 years. Wealth had been distorted by better types of work in Israel.
The links with the rapidly growing Israeli economy pushed up domestic Palestinian wages and reduced the competitiveness of the Palestinian economy compared to its neighbours. The result was a Palestinian economy which was increasingly dependent on Israel. And so when the Second Intifada and the appalling terrorist attacks on Israel began, the impact of the economic separation which then followed was very severe indeed. Almost overnight, the number of employed Palestinians fell by 100,000. Access of Palestinian goods to the Israeli market became heavily restricted. As Douglas says, a dramatic recession ensued, twice as severe as the two severest years of the American Depression. A 40% fall in output during a period since 2000 when the Israeli economy has grown by over 10%.
The report has 5 recommendations for action which it thinks are timely given the recent and forthcoming talks in the region, including those on behalf of the quartet of countries led by Tony Blair, the former British Prime Minister. One key is better deployment of international aid. It calls for an end to Israeli settlement in Palestinian areas and joint Israeli and Palestinian business forums, with improved access and trade crossings.
We believe that if adequately prepared, the international community can play an essential part in promoting the peace process. But that will only work if local leadership is in place and working together. Without that, the grounds for optimism look thin, but as the Foreign Secretary said, there is now a window of opportunity to make substantive progress towards a two-state solution. We hope that we can seize that opportunity and that our recommendations can play a role in making that possible.
Investment from the private sector is seen as the main driver for a better life for Palestinians, but first, suspicion and fear has to be overcome.